Welcome to the School Garden Podcast with Mary Jo and Anne. No matter where you are in your school garden journey, whether you are an experienced garden teacher, a novice parent helper, or a struggling home educator, we are here to help you and your kiddos in your garden space. Come and dig in with us because school gardens matter.
Thank you for joining us for the Garden Read Aloud episode, The Sequel.
The sequel. Come on.
It turns out this was our most popular episode by far.
Yes.
And we thought, there are more books out there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them.
And certainly more books. We use a lot of books, don't we, in the garden? So we have an absolute kind of like fountain of fabulousness to choose from when it comes to read aloud books and books related to the garden that we can use for teachers. And again, it really was when we do speak to educators, it's the thing that they enjoyed the most and the thing that they wanted us to do another one of. So yes, Anne, the sequel.
I know. Wow, we're at the point where we're making sequels.
I know. Isn't that marvelous? And really, it also makes a lot of sense for us, particularly here in Fort Worth, where Fort Worth ISD is very much going to be that real focus on literacy.
Mm-hmm. It's something that teachers will be very open to us coming in to do gardening lessons when they know there's a literacy component because of that.
Absolutely. And those targets and those goals along the lines of literacy. And the extension tasks from reading a book or having a book featured in your garden program is just there's so much other extension to literacy for it, and it could be, the journaling element to it, kind of like continuing the story on, do a character development, make some signs, so many different opportunities, just looking at the vocabulary of what's involved in the book as well. So really a book is just the starting point for those literacy activities.
I agree. So we each have 4 books we would love that we're going to share with you. And I've loved what you've shown me so far.
I know we all have different kind of like things that we enjoy reading. And me, I love the illustrations are as important as the words sometimes, So I love it when other people recommend things. So which is probably why this is so popular, because people love listening to people's kind of recommendations for books.
Yes.
So join us at the end of the episode when we're going to give you details about how you can enter a book giveaway. So we're going to be giving away some of the books that we're talking about on today's episodes. So you're going to go over to our Instagram account and you are going to be able to enter into a book giveaway. So listen on. And at the end of it, we're going to give details about how you can get involved in that.
Why don't you start us off?
Sure. So my first one is Counting Creatures, and it's by Julia Donaldson, and it's illustrated by Sharon King Chai. And I was introduced to this book by gardening educators in England. And you'll know Julia Donaldson. She's very famous over in UK. I'm not sure about here, but anyway, she's very, very well known. She's written over 200 books of these kind of like picture books, including things like The Gruffalo, A Room on a Broom, Squash and a Squeeze, and probably people are recognizing those titles. This is the most beautiful, rhyming and engaging, and it's essentially a counting book that looks at animals and their babies. And it was very much for a younger audience, but a lot of the vocabulary in it can very much be used for kind of like ascending grades, as well. So it's just gorgeous, and it has these beautiful folding out flaps that reveal the number of animals, which is great for class counting or even individual reading, letting your students open the flaps themselves. It's really gorgeous. So it starts with the bat, and she only has one baby, and she's holding on tight as they fly through the night. Who has more babies than that? And it goes in that different animals. It goes with sheep, leopards, wild dog, Arctic hares, and many more. And it's naming their pups, kits, leverets, pulls, that kind of thing. And it's just such fun. And what I really love about this book the most is that the last few creatures in it features kind of like butterflies, frogs, and spiders. And as we know, their babies do not resemble their mothers.
Great contrast.
Exactly.
Yes.
And the actual number is prolific compared to, say, the bat that has one baby, and that is really, really quite wonderful too, as you kind of like, look, there's a butterfly, but what's the butterfly baby? Caterpillars, what? And then through to kind of like tadpoles and then to spiderlings. But just a wonderful, wonderful book. Very engaging, and the kids absolutely love it. I like to use this book around the time that we get ladybirds into the garden and ladybugs, because their cycle is really interesting to watch, and it's very engaging because ladybug larvae looks absolutely nothing like a ladybug.
I know, they're scary.
They're scary. And you go, what? It really is. And also, it looks really similar to something that's quite a pest here. So they quite often get sprayed thinking that they are like this harlequin bug or other kind of nasties that we get in the garden as well. So I think just trying to teach, like, oh no, have a quick check that if there's ladybugs around, it's quite often, the larvae of the ladybug or the nymph, that kind of thing. But if you can't do it then, pull it out at any time. It's great for rainy day. If you've got to be inside, you can engage a young years class for about 20 minutes with that book. You really can. It is wonderful. So that book, Counting Creatures, written by Julia Donaldson and illustrated by Sharon King Chai. You need it in your life.
My book is called A Place to Grow, written by Stephanie Bloom and illustrated by Kelly Murphy.
Mhm.
And Mary Jo, you introduced me to this book, and it's one of my favorites for lots of reasons.
Mhm.
The book follows a journey of a seed that uses wind to move from place to place, looking for the perfect home. And Mary Jo did say, it looks like he wears googly eyes, and they're my favorite. They
Honest-
are.
Honestly, if you know Anne loves a googly eye. Anne will put googly eyes on leaves.
I do,
With
and the
the
kids do.
the
It's
kids
so
it's so
fun.
funny. So when I kind of flicked through the book and I was like, Anne, you not only you've been drawn to illustrated googly eyes,
Yes.
look at the illustrations in this book. It's hilarious. The eyes are just fabulous.
And the seed is just so whimsical and cute. So well done. Well done, Kelly Murphy.
Oh, yeah, well done, Kelly Murphy.
I use this book to introduce the idea that many seeds have to move or be dispersed to different locations in order to thrive. With my favorite group of second graders, shout out to Miss Garcia's class,
Hey, Miss Garcia.
we took paper and divided into 6 different sections. And as I read the book, they illustrated one section with our little flying seed to show that some seeds travel via wind. In a later lesson, we looked at other ways seeds travel: water, explosion, always fun for the kids,
Mhm.
sticking to animals or people, and many children's personal favorite, through animal
Oh
poop.
yeah.
It's always that fun, gross factor.
Mhm.
So, another way I use this book is to look at different environments for growing. The book features a farm, a playground, an open field, a forest, and much more. And this is wonderful ways to talk about ecosystems with the young children. So I really appreciate how this book hits a really important concept, because the idea of seed dispersal is
Yeah.
so key to understanding. We always have, the little burrs on our
Yeah.
socks. And it's amazing when kids realize those are seeds.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's their adaptation to move. It's not just to bug you.
Yeah.
Those are seeds, and they
Yeah.
just find that fascinating. So, a place to grow is a great way to start that idea of
It
seed
is. And
dispersal.
I think that when you tell it, that they get dispersed on water, kids are
Yes,
just like, what? In
yes,
the rivers and this and kind of like by the rain and and I don't think they ever think that water is this great conduit for kind of like moving seeds around. Really, really great way to kind of link that concept.
yes.
So my second book, Anne, is Cuando tu abuela te regala un limonero. It's a book in Spanish, and it is
Like,
written by Jamie L.B. Deanan and illustrated by Lorraine Rocha. And it is beautiful. Here in Fort Worth, we have a large number of Spanish-speaking students and many bilingual classes and programs. And I regularly only have Spanish-speaking students in the garden. So this book is just in Spanish, no English translation. But I find that it's adored by both Spanish and non-Spanish speakers alike. And I think that's down to the illustration of it. It's very easy to follow the story, even if you're not a Spanish speaker. So it starts with a girl making her birthday gift list, which doesn't include a lemon tree, from her grandmother. And then the book beautifully follows Lola as she makes peace with this gift of a lemon tree from her grandmother and learns how to look after it, rallies her friends, and then learns how to make lemonade. What I really enjoy about this book is the amazing nod to what happens to all of us as when we fall in love with this plant world, because the last few pages shows Lola walking past all the tall toys on the shelves in a store, and she heads straight into the plant section and buys more plants.
Love it.
And not only for herself, but then to share with everyone she knows and people in her community and her neighborhood. And now, if that doesn't resonate with everyone listening to this podcast and you were a plant
Yes,
person, then I don't know what does, because we cannot help buying plants and giving
exactly.
plants away, and
Hmm.
sharing this plant world with everybody. So I absolutely really would recommend this if you do have Spanish speaking students, this book is absolutely fantastic. And my extension task with this would be if the classroom had a class plant, for example, maybe you just had a pothos or you had an indoor house plant or something like that. Or if you wanted to take that in and you can kind of go, hey, you guys need to take care of this. Or if you are starting seeds with kids and they're putting them on the windowsill and then nurturing them into germination and then into kind of seedling form, because it really does focus on that. How do we take care of this when we have no idea what this is? So it's really great. I yesterday just did a whole load of avocados. We split some avocado seeds with them, a bunch of kids, and then planted them up. So they're like, what? Put them on the windowsill and watch that grow, and then hopefully that will spark them then to go out and just buy nothing but plants for the rest of their lives.
I
So,
love that.
and share them. So yeah, so that is Cuando tu abuela te regala un limonero, and that's by Jamie L. B. Deanian and illustrated by Lorraine Rocha.
Wonderful. My next book is called A Seed is Sleepy by Dianna Hutz Aston and Sylvia Long. So I wanted to continue down this plant focus on seeds. So I've loved this book for years, even before I was a garden educator. I was introduced to their work through a book that they've written called An Egg is Quiet. They also have created A Butterfly is Patient and A Rock is Lively. Their work focuses on beautiful and
Yes.
detailed illustrations while sharing important aspects of their subject.
Mhm.
So, in A Seed is Sleepy, each set of pages features a different aspect of seeds.
Yeah.
A seed is fruitful, which discusses the purpose of fruits. A seed is generous, which discusses the role of the cotyledon, actually.
Yeah.
And a seed is naked, describing those seeds that don't develop fruits. Who knew there were naked seeds?
Yeah.
And it's okay to say on a podcast, and so on and so on. I'm so drawn into their illustrations and the simplicity of their content, but it's right on point. I love all their books and I try to use them all the time.
Yeah.
The Butterfly is Patient is also a great book to use.
Okay.
So, and it's full of just detailed illustrations.
It is.
And I can see an art connection with this with our
Correct.
art teacher, is to have them learn the importance of writing and drawing, detailed illustrations, not just cartoons. And this is a
Exactly.
beautiful way to think
And it's
about
got
that.
that real historical botanical illustration
Yes.
feel to it, and if you social studies, if you ever wanted to look at the plant explorers and those kind of botanists back in the Victorian times that
Yes.
went, and that's how they discovered new plants, through these incredibly accurate, detailed botanical illustrations and drawings. And I think that's lovely. I'm so glad that we haven't even discussed this, have we? But
No.
we both picked up on the fact that it just has these most incredibly botanically accurate kind of depictions of seeds and plants. I love it.
Yes. So that is A Seed is Sleepy by Dianna Hutz Aston and Sylvia Long.
So my third book is called, and it's pulling it over because I just want to hold it. It's so lovely. And it's called Avocado Asks by Momoko Abe. And this is another beautifully illustrated, and it's a fun book to engage with children. It really is. And it centers around an avocado who has but one question: am I a fruit or am I a vegetable? That
Ah,
classic.
yes. What a great way to hit that idea.
It is. And so we join this avocado as he hunts for the answer to this question amongst the aisles of a supermarket. Eventually, he meets the other tortured fruit in inverted commas, which is the tomato. Because we all know that kids, that
Yes.
fun fact that a kid knows about a tomato, it is a fruit. There we go. So I love the building continued question as you go from page to page. What am I? What am I? Who am I? Where do I belong? That kind of thing. But it's not only a book about vegetables, because it really does start to examine the merits of just being yourself. And I really like that, for young
Mhm.
kids too. And discover that each one of us is just simply amazing. you know?
Right.
And I really like this as a general introduction to thinking about the distinction between fruits and vegetables in that botanical sense. Now, as we know, this can get incredibly complicated and involved, okay? And you can get really caught up in the technical botanics or the culinary slant of fruit and vegetable. But don't. This is just a simple way of getting kids to think about a simple definition, if you like. Fruits contain the seeds, and vegetables are made of roots, stems, and leaves, creating seeds external to the plant.
Well, there's that whole interesting controversy where the idea of fruits and vegetables went all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And so it can get incredibly complicated and even
Hmm.
political. It was related all to taxing.
Okay. My goodness, and maybe this has started a political situation.
Not that those are going on in any way.
Seriously,
Um,
I think people would actually prefer this political situation with what's going on in the world at the moment. Is it a fruit or a vegetable?
exactly. I love the simplicity of that.
I'd march in the streets. Oh, no, no, I wouldn't. Again, you can truly get so tied up in knots about this distinction from it. Like you'd say, let's not go to court about this, but just get the kids thinking along those lines. I just simply will take in a basket of things out of the fridge, a collection of very ordinary, everyday things that we have in our refrigerator or in your pantry. Or if you can time it with what's growing in the garden, even better. But quite often fruits and vegetables, we don't really have that much of a spectrum of choice, really. But yeah, so just taking a basket and then just get the kids to kind of think about it. You hold one up and it has to go on one side or the other, and they have to kind of like use that rule. I think it's a lovely thing using a basic rule to find a distinction. It makes a great indoor activity, on a rainy day, but equally one that you can take outside as well, but great indoors. It also works well with stations, if you just have that basket and one that says, fruit, one fruit, vegetable, and they have to physically go and move it from one side to the other. Anyway, Avocado asks by Momoko Abe, and it is lovely. It is lovely. Check it out because you'll enjoy it.
I'm going to get that. So, my third book, let's see if I can get through this one without crying, is called The Gardener by Sarah Stewart and illustrated by David Small. Hey, and thanks to Chris Reeve for sharing this author's work with me.
Oh, yeah.
She gave this to me a couple of years ago, and it's such a beautiful
Chris Reeve
gift.
is our super book friend, isn't
She
she?
is.
She is an absolute joy. And I think worked in publishing back in the day before she now kind of like works in the world of grants. But she is a good recommender of books. So
She is. I have to admit, every time I read this book, it makes me cry. So I read it this morning, cried at the beginning, cried at the end of the book. This, as well as The Giving Tree, if any teachers are
oh
Giving
my
Tree
gosh.
readers, they're tear jerkers for me anyway.
Can I tell you about the Giving Tree? I wasn't aware of the Giving Tree until I came to America, and I just went into the library at one of the schools, and I just grabbed it off the shelf. Seriously, Anne. Claude was like, "Oh, the Giving Tree. Oh, a tree about a book about a tree that gives. That'll be fine." And as I was walking past, one of the teachers went, "How can you even? How can you? You're going to read? Oh my, oh!" And I'm like, oh, "Goodness me!" Next teacher along the corridor. Wow. Wow, there's a bold choice, Mrs. Green, a bold choice. And then I read it and I was like,
I have vivid memories teaching third grade. This was like 30 years ago. And I was sitting there reading. I couldn't finish the book, and all the kids were looking at me like, "Lady,
really?
what's going on?" And I read it ahead of time and thought, "Oh, this won't be bad." Yeah. So be aware, The Gardener by Sarah Stewart, same effect for me. So this book is set in the middle of the Great Depression and uses letters from a little girl, Lydia Grace, to tell the story as she must leave her family in the country to live with her uncle in the city to help ends meet.
Oh.
And guess what? He never smiles. I know, and her whole goal is to make him smile. Great Depression era reality story. So there's so much here. The letters are dated in such a way to show the growing seasons of different plants, which I love. Lydia Grace has such confidence in herself as a gardener, and I want to instill that confidence in my own students.
Lovely.
She knows herself as a gardener and identifies that way. It shows so much about seed sharing as her family sends seeds and plants, and others share plants with her, which is common practice at the time, even now as well. And there's a lot of creative reuse of materials as she describes what she plants her seeds in. So it's a lovely story to share with children, and it does have a happy ending. So in the coming year, I want to use this to talk about writing letters. What's a letter
Mm.
format that's appropriate? And
Yeah.
so it hits in writing, it hits in literacy.
Yeah. And what kind of grade group would you use that with then, Anne?
I like third grade for this,
Okay.
third and fourth.
Yeah. And is it fourth grade that does letter writing?
I think a lot of different grade levels can do it at different varying levels.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice.
So that's The Gardener by Sarah Stewart, illustrated by David Small.
So yeah, so my fourth and final book choice is one for older kids. So not necessarily a read aloud book, like a self-read, and it is Seedfolks by Paul Fleischman. So it's read regularly by middle school grades, but I can easily see this being read by older elementary and school grades. I'm blown away by some of the books and the ability of the kind of reading capacity of some third, fourth, fifth
Yes.
graders, some third graders. Yeah, holy smokes.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very impressive. And this would be a great book for them. It's super thin. It took me about 45 minutes to read it. I love it. So this book is about the turnaround and transformation of an unloved spot in a neighborhood as it turns into a vibrant and loved community garden. And the story is told via 13 characters as they become involved in the garden spaces and just the stories around their life and what has led them to this community garden space. So it's a story of old and young, Haitian, Hispanic, the hurt and the haunted. It really does cover a kind of like a gamut of kind of like emotion, cultural kind of like reasons, economic kind of questions and hardships. It really is a lovely, lovely book. So it is exactly the story of any community garden that I've ever been involved with because it is all about people, and people and their stories and their whys. And I just adore it. And I read it quite regularly. Again, it's less than an hour read. It just makes me realize how powerful gardening can be for connection, for well-being, and for purpose and for our communities and the wider world. And that is the end of my TED talk. I could get so kind of like emotional and kind of, like putting my hand on my heart when I talk about this book. And in terms of extension tasks, I mean, any middle school literary teacher out there is going to just have a field day with this, with the opportunities to do with it. It's a wonderfully thought-provoking book, read at an age when minds are just open, and started to question and try to make sense of things. So, character analysis projects, creative writing exercises, discussions about community, about culture, even things like different world cuisines and that kind of thing. It's just all possible thanks to this book. It is Seedfolks by Paul Fleischman, and I think you will really, really enjoy it.
So my last book is called Garden Wigglers by Nancy Loewen and illustrated by Rick Peterson. There are so many books out there about
Yeah.
earthworms. So this is one I use the most. So I love the science aspect of gardening. So this book is really accessible for young kids to talk about earthworms. There's lots of different short chapters about how they move, what their purpose is in the garden, why are they important, and of course the ever popular fun facts,
Yes.
which kids really enjoy as well. So I tend to use this book to introduce my unit around earthworms, great on a rainy day. And I have a wormery in my school that I just take with me. And so kids get access to real earthworms and learn
Yes.
about them at the same
Yes.
time. And you can do so much. But the idea of just giving them a paper plate
Oh.
with earthworms and a magnifying glass as their initial experience is really important. And I do that after I read the book,
Yeah.
not before.
I think you are so right, Anne. Book first, worm activity after.
Yes.
Because the minute you open a tub of worms or a wormery and you're out in the classroom, then my goodness, you are going to have to do something spectacular to get that attention back on you. I reckon a fire alarm could go off and the kids would be like, take my chances with the worms. I'm good. I'm good, Mrs. All good.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
The thing about that book we know that kids love is learning a fact.
Yes.
And fact and a worm, brilliant. And also how much worms feature in gardening programs. We talk about them all the time when they're digging in the soil. If we find one, we're constantly referring back to worms and their purpose, and then also having the wormeries as little class pets inside, as decomposers, that kind of thing. It's great. So having this worm book, I think, is fantastic. As a matter of fact, when I go to one school, they go, "Oh, it's the lady with worms."
Wow.
I know.
That's quite the
And if you
title.
didn't know what my job was,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, the lady who's got worms. So yeah.
Right.
So we hope that you've really enjoyed this. I mean, what a joy it is to just talk about books and gardening
Exactly.
together at the same time. We will list them all on the show notes as well, and then check them all out. Listen to this again. Go back to the first episode, actually, if you're just discovering this one. So go and listen to some recommendations on that as well. But yeah, during the summer, you've got time to kind of like have a flick through and look at them and order them from the library or however you get them. And yeah, so thanks for listening and happy reading.
Happy reading. You know what I like about this is the
Uh-huh.
sequel episode was just as good as the first.
Yeah,
Doesn't always happen with movies.
that's right.
So I feel good about this.
Yeah. Oh my
I know.
gosh. Oh my gosh. We could have like a huge franchise with just books. Read
That's
aloud.
right.
What comes after a sequel? Trilogy?
Oh my gosh, it is a
Gosh. It
trilogy.
is a trilogy because
There's a lot of pressure with that.
we have curated a kind of a list of books that we do like, and we have about 40 on there. So we do have a franchise.
Wow.
So Anne, we're going to try something new. We would love some of you listeners to get your hands on some of the books that we've talked about, we featured today. So head over to our Instagram account, which is Made Greene, green with an E on the end, and select 4 of the books that you are the most interested. You're also going to be asked for a keyword, okay? And that keyword is going to be Lucy. Lucy. Anne's laughing because that is the name of Anne's dog. And she's like our podcast mascot dog.
She is.
And she sits with us, and as she is sitting, snoozing away as we're recording the podcast. So now it's our first for into this, Anne. So we're only going to be able to send books to listeners in the United States.
And we'll work on figuring out the
We will
beyond
be-
soon.
And this giveaway is going to run to the 31st of August. Does August have 31 days? It does, doesn't it?
Let me think of that poem. April, June, and November. I think we're good. Yes.
Yeah, 31 days. So you have until August the 31st to select your 4 favourite books. You'll be back into the swing of school and be able to share these books with your students. Okay, yeah. So over to Instagram, Made Greene, keyword Lucy, select your 4 favourite books that you've heard about today, and very good luck.
Enjoy reading, everyone, and we'll see you again on our next podcast.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to hit the follow button on your podcast platform of choice. And share us with a friend, please. We'd love for you to rate us and leave a comment as well. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Made Greene, or visit us at our website, www.madegreene.com. Details of today's shows and other resources are in our show notes. Any proceeds from affiliate links shared help fund our school garden programs. We look forward to seeing you next time on the School Garden Podcast.